Hey, what's up guys? This is 3D Bonfire back with another amazing tutorial, and today I want to test the highest ranked AI model generator, which is Trippo AI, at least in February 2026. I want to focus on real world professional use cases. So this one is not about sugarcoating and telling you how amazing everything is, but I also want to let you know about the downsides and where it can be useful and where you better not should use it. Okay, I already will give you a hint. It might be better for scene props, objects and architecture, and maybe not for your hero product. Before we dive into the workflow, which will be prompt to image to 3D, let me just quickly show you the use cases that I want to go through. So I have those ones over there. Wow, this one is a big red circle. I want to test it with different scenarios in mind just to see how good it will perform. So in my daily routines with clients, I always have to present their product in the most pleasing way. Most of the time it will be for animation, but of course you also want to get some beautiful stills out of it. For example, maybe I'm working for a lotion or a perfume, but of course it can also be for maybe even a car or a sneaker, something like this one. These are typical use cases where a client will need a 3D artist, and for those kind of projects you need scene props. Okay, let me put it into simple words. You just need to have all of the things which will surround your hero product. It might be a blossom, it might be an orange, it might be a little wood piece, some moss, it could even be a street or a tree, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe even a beautiful rose, some beautiful flower, or some dry driftwood like you can see it here in those perfume ads over there. Maybe I can already mention that I wouldn't use those AI model generators to generate the client's hero product, and at least for some time in the future, I think there will still be the need for a high quality model made by a 3D artist. But what I want to say is I want to test this model generator more for the surrounding. And the first use case that I want to put this AI through will be to create a wood piece. To be more precise, I want to generate this one here as a 3D model. And I also want to generate this one. Then when we go to the next scenario, often you need to have some architecture in your scene, maybe some beautiful columns where you can also put your product into position. Maybe you can even make a liquid simulation or a smoke simulation, but something like this one. Okay, it could even be some abstract architecture, but shapes like this one I would prefer to model in 3D. But when it comes to something more complex, like a column with these intricate details up there, we want to build a column like that based on this prompted image. The next use case, I want to just, once again, it's about building scene props, for example, some stones or some mineral structures like that. So I have these references here, and then I generate a different kind of crystals. You can see that I generated quite a lot. Then I selected those two structures. I just want to see how the AI model generator is working with some structure like this one. Can it be precise enough to give me something usable? And also how it is handling those really detailed surfaces and breakups and structures like this one. This will be the next use case. I also want to see how it will handle hard surface modeling structures. Next one is this one. I just want to see, will the AI generator give me beautiful edges with a beautiful beveling? I also want to see some softer structures, how it will handle such folded structures like you can see it here, or even something like a cloth sculpture or something with soft blobby shapes. And then, because I'm a Silksong and Hollow Knight fan, I also want to see some character design. I will go with this one, then with this one, and let me just see over there, I also want to see this one. Maybe one last thing regarding the workflow, where we go from prompt to image to 3D, you will have different options to prompt your image. So it can be interesting to just quickly think about which AI you want to use to prompt and generate your images. So you, for example, can go with Comfy UI, you can go with Nano Banana Pro or ChatGPT. To fire up Nano Banana, you just go to Gemini and just be sure that you are in fast mode. Then you put in your prompt and then you will get your image. It's the same thing with Nano Banana Pro. You also start from Gemini, but just be sure to switch this one down there to Pro so that you will generate images with Nano Banana Pro. And for ChatGPT, this one should be on 5.2. You just put in your prompt and then you will get your image. It's a little bit different for Comfy UI. I will create tutorials based on this one in the future because this is just such a powerful and versatile workflow. The good thing is that you can run those node-based workflows locally on your system if you want to. And then you can also generate really nice images or also other stuff like videos and 3D assets even with Comfy UI. You can see that in most scenarios in this test series, Comfy UI was the fastest. For example, for this series of wood, Comfy UI just barely took 4 seconds, but then your more popular solutions like ChatGPT and Banana Pro, they will take 20 seconds or 28 seconds. The classic Nano Banana will just take 8 seconds, but you can see that this one is producing a pretty ugly image. Once again, for the column example, you can see over here, Comfy UI was the fastest once again, but then I would say the best one might be Nano Banana Pro, but it depends, okay? I just want to say that Comfy UI is such a powerful solution. It's so much more versatile than just relying on the classic well-known tools. So this is why in the future I might also provide you more with Comfy UI tutorials. Besides that, we don't want to go too much into the prompting. Let's just pretend for now that you know how to prompt an image, and now let's just jump into Trippo. They call it an all-in-one AI 3D workspace, but I think the main thing you want to use this for is of course the 3D model generation. You can see here directly on the homepage in the gallery there are a lot of models generated by other users. Beautiful looking lamp. I actually like the geometry of this one. Looks quite nice, but of course we don't want to work with objects from other users, but we want to generate our own models, right? So I will go over here to my 3D workspace. By the way, you can see that I have over 2000 credits. This is because I signed in for a membership, and by the way, this one is always set to annually right from the start. So if you sign in for a membership, just be careful, because most probably you don't want to sign in directly for an annual membership, because in this AI race, which one is the best is changing sometimes from day to day or week to week. So I would not recommend to dedicate for an annual subscription at all. In the basic subscription, you have 300 credits for free. This one should equal maybe, I mean, you can see down there, generate model 50 credits. So this one will enable you to generate 6 models for free per month. But in my case, because I want to show you this tool, I had to sign in for a professional membership, which is $20 per month. Okay, and this is what I'm using right now. You can see over there, these are the assets that I already generated. Let me just click on one so you can see that I, for example, generated this little Silk Song Hollow Knight inspired creature, which is not looking bad. You can even see that it is understanding that the plates should have something beneath it. So I think that this one is quite promising, but we don't want to talk about the assets that are already generated. We want to generate something from scratch. Therefore, you will just drag in one of your prompted images. We can talk about the prompting process in another tutorial, but here I just want to give you an overview on how to use Trippo 3D. So drag in your image. I would say for most scenarios, it is not even needed to first generate multi-views in your AI, you know, to get the clear front, left, right, and back piece. In my experience, this is not needed. Maybe it can be helpful when you have a really technical object, for example, like a smartphone with a clean front view. Then you generate a back view where you have the camera rings and all of that kind of stuff, and you want to see it from the left and the right, and maybe on the right or the left are the little buttons, for example. Then it can be helpful to work with this one, with multi-view, but most of the time I would just do it with a single image like this one. There are a lot of options here. For example, you could even now generate multi-views from this one, so that in the first step now Trippo will kind of hallucinate the back piece of this wood and will just try to show this one from all kinds of angles. But I would say with complex objects like this one can make it even worse. So I would say most of the time just rely on a single image as your image prompt. And yeah, you have different options here also. You could also go from text to model, but I wouldn't recommend that because you just already want to see in an image what you want to generate as a 3D model. So let's start with this image. This one, I would keep this one. Yeah, make image better. I think that this is always a good choice. For the mesh quality, Ultra is the best. I just guess that this one will help the quality. Generate in parts, we will do this one later, or I will show you an example what will happen when you do this one. So just keep this one in mind for later. Then when we just go down there, in most scenarios, I would say you want to generate a texture. You definitely want to set this one to 4K to just have this one more crisp and realistic. And I would say when you work in professional 3D workflows, you also want to set this one to PBR to just get some different maps, for example, a bump bump map, a roughness map, and a diffuse map. Down there for the topology, you want to keep this one a triangle just to have more details in the mesh. And we don't want to work as a low poly object. For now, we don't care if this one has 2 million polygons, because honestly, when, for example, in such an ad, the wood piece over there, if this one has 2 million polygons, this is not a big deal. I think the poly count will be more important if you work with game assets, for example. But now I would say let's just generate this model, which will cost 55 credits. So let's just go for it. This one in that case should take about 80 seconds. At a certain point, this one is already turning into like this particles visualization of your final asset, but we still have 40 seconds to go. And I think that this one is quite a beautiful asset generation. Let me just also see this one from the back, but it seems that, yeah, I mean, also the back structure is kind of making sense. So everything here should be fine. And I want to, maybe I could add height to this one and then download this one, for example, as an FBX or an OBJ. In my case, I will just go with the FBX format and then I will export this one. So now it is time to judge the 3D models generated from those images in Cinema 4D. Now we are in Cinema 4D, but as I said, you can also do this one in Blender or whichever 3D tool that you prefer. And I think I just want to make some comparisons and just double check how those meshes will look. On the right, this is my viewport, and on the left, this is the Redshift render view. You can see that, for example, for this wood piece, I also have a low poly version. You can see that I would say that Trippo is creating quite some beautiful topology when you do a low poly version out of your high poly version. You can see that this one is almost pitch black. You need to go closer. Now you can see all of these little triangles. This one has about 1.3 million triangles. So I think that the maximum that Trippo is generating will be 2 million triangle objects. But yeah, as I mentioned, in some projects this is more relevant than in others. But you can see that both of these objects, I think that they are looking quite usable. You can also see all of details down there. So I think that this is quite some good looking texture, especially when you are not that close to it. Then this one is looking quite believable. And I could totally use this one as a wood asset in a project. Let me just jump over here. I have some fast examples here. These ones, they are not polished at all, but you can see, for example, here in this scene, let me just move a little bit around so you can see this is a 3D scene where I just put in this wood asset that I just generated with Trippo, and you can see that this one would be a totally usable asset, for example, for such a perfume ad. And yeah, somebody in the comments mentioned that perfumes are the new astronauts in 3D, and probably he is right about that. You can see that I can now move the light around. Okay, so this one is reacting as it should, and this is just a benefit when you really have those assets, those objects in your scene. Then this one is just superior to just something that you prompt, because now you can just change this one. You can do all kinds of stuff with it in 3D. You can move the camera around, you can animate it, you can do all the stuff that would be necessary in real client projects. Okay, this asset would be useful in such a shot. Definitely in the style frame or the ideation process, this asset will definitely be useful. It will be the same thing with this other wood asset over there. Let me just press NB one more time. You can see this one is the low poly version, but the low poly version is using the same 4K texture as the high poly version of the object. So I think that without losing too much detail, you could also use the low poly version of this one with the high resolution texture on it. Let me just jump to another example here where I just honestly quickly in maybe 5 minutes created a fast mock-up here for another product shot. And keep in mind, you don't have to do this one with perfumes. This one can also be for all kinds of products. I just wanted to use this one as an example because right now I'm still sharing this asset on my Patreon, but maybe only for the next 7 days or so. Maybe when I already talk about it, this is where you could support me and where you can learn more about good stuff. You can see that quite a lot of members already trust me. There is no shortcut on posts and tutorials and training. You can join for free, but just be sure that most of the quality training will be in the Knights tier. But yeah, this is something to consider. Other than that, feel free to support me here on YouTube. Ring the bell, do the good stuff, write a comment. This will help the algorithm to just push my video a little bit higher, and this will just help me to create more of the good content in the future. Back in the master scene with all of my assets, let me just move around here a little bit. Let's now go over to the column. You can see that the low poly version of the column is falling apart here, so it's just losing losing the accuracy along those thin lines here, but the high poly version will be totally usable. Once again, I could use this one, especially in the style frame process where I have to move fast, where I just want to surprise my client with all the possibilities. And once again, here is a little example file. So you can see that here in the scene, I can just use this column asset once again to get all of those details here. I want to activate those lights over here. Now you can see that I can just do whatever I want in the scene. And this is just a benefit of having those assets and your products and all of that stuff really in a 3D environment so that you can just change basically everything. So you can see that these first tests with these assets, they were perfectly fine. Of course, I also have to mention that when you go close to this one, okay, then this one will not hold up to the quality that you would need for a high premium client. But the other question is how close you will ever be to such surrounding objects for your scene. So maybe as I just showed you, when you are just further away, then this one will be perfectly usable. And now I could also talk about all of the other objects that I just created here. Let me just go over here and I could tell you more and more, but I think that I just want to make this tutorial just a little bit shorter, and maybe I will just make an additional short lesson where I talk about the other assets that I created, where I also talk about the multi-generation parts where you get different pieces for different parts of your object, and maybe we can also quickly talk about the character designs that I have here. But I think for now, let's just make this video not too long. So I think that it is clear that you can definitely use those assets in your scene. I would not use it for your hero product. This is still where we need a qualified, trained modeler, all right, to just build the hero object, what is really important in your shot. But I think that possibly these asset generators could be already good enough for the midground props, for the surrounding elements, for stuff like that. It will be especially useful for style frames, ideation, and for placeholders. I think I already repeat myself, to be honest. But the thing is, this one will enable you to move faster, to give your clients more iterations earlier in the process. So you have to think about if you will allow AI to enter your workflows, your production pipeline. Yeah, I just wanted to give you an example what is possible right now and how I probably will use it for my future workflow with clients. But now it is up to you. What is your opinion about all of that? And besides that, thank you so much for your time. See you in the next tutorial. Bye, everyone.